what we've got here is a 1925 JE Harley. I've managed to scrape that crud off the crankcase engine number there, so you can have a look at that. But what I want to do is see if I can get it to run without minimal amount of work that I have to do to get it going again. There's a couple of problems that could be an issue. It looks like there's either some melting or rust on the side of the coil there. 6-volt coil, of course, and you can see the condition of the wiring. It's not very healthy due to the fact it caught on fire about 45 years ago. This is Dad's Harley. He bought it in he thinks probably about 1972, 71, 72. And he bought it from a guy that come to do some work on his house. And this guy saw that he had a lot of bikes in his shed, and he goes, "I've got an old Harley sitting in my shed. It's got no front wheel, but you can come and pick it up for a reasonable price." So we went around and saw this guy. I don't know if he took a front wheel with him or whether they loaded it on without the front wheel, but anyway, he paid $50 for it back in the early 70s. And I can just remember, I do remember it running. I'm 55 now, so I'm thinking this was, you know, I guess I must have been 7 or 8 at the time. And I can remember him riding it around, and I do remember the day it caught fire, because his brothers showed up, and he hadn't ridden it for quite a while. His brothers showed up, and they said, "Let's get the old Harley out and get it going." So they pushed it off down the hill, and it must have leaked some petrol, and it caught fire. And from memory, that was the last time we tried to get it going. You know, it sat down in an old pigsty, disused pigsty for, I don't know, must have been 20 years. And then he brought it up and he put it up in the shed next to the house. But still, southern Victoria weather, you know, rains most of the year and drips off the trees the rest, sort of thing. So it really held up quite well considering the conditions it was in. And yes, there's some more of that melted wire you can see there. Ignition leads are all melted. It's looking a little bit dodgy the way that's all hooked up. So we're going to have to try to rewire all this. The points cover's been missing forever. That's going to need a bit of a clean up. As you can see, the exhaust's pretty well non-existent. Not that I need that to make it go. I think I'll just get that all out of the way. I don't know too much about how this all works. I know it's a total loss oil system. So for you guys that are only used to modern motorcycles, there's an oil tank in here, and there's an oil pump. This is, yeah, I think how it works. So you fill the oil tank up with oil, alright, and then this oil pump does the majority of the lubricating, so it's pumping oil into the works. And then if you're working the bike really hard, towing a sidecar or, you know, giving it a decent old thrashing, then you use the oil pump to pump a bit of extra oil in, just to keep it going, stop it from seizing up. What else? Yeah, so, and of course, total loss oil system. So if you have a look here, there's a pipe that comes out of the crankcase here. I think that's a breather. And that runs over to the other side and dumps oil. That's that pipe there, it's probably a bit dark now. That dumps oil down into the primary chain case there to keep the primary chain lubricated. And the reason why it caught fire is because there's a couple of different models of these J Harleys, but this one doesn't have a distributor. So basically that means it runs on waste spark. So there's a couple of lobes on the points. So there's a couple of lobes on the points, but basically the high voltage spark comes out of one end of the coil, through the engine, then back out the other, back into the coil, which means that both spark plugs fire simultaneously. Now obviously only one's on the compression stroke, so the one that's on the compression stroke fires, but if the other one didn't fire and the cylinder's still full of fuel and it sparks with the inlet valve open, then obviously some flames come back out the carby, and if you've got petrol spilt on the bike, well, the inevitable is going to happen, and this is the result, as you can see. Somewhat melted and probably not that serviceable anymore. But anyway, we can put a battery, we'll get a 6-volt power supply of some sort and we'll bypass most of the ignition system. Not sure what that one's for, and we'll get some fuel in it. Well, we won't get some fuel in it just yet. It does, as you can see, it turns over, no problem. So it's not seized, but it feels to me like it's probably maybe only compression on one cylinder. It's definitely a bit on one, but yeah. Have to have a bit of a look in there. We'll just pull the plugs out and have a look, see what's going on. What else can we talk about? Obviously you got your timing advance and retard on this side. That's right, no automatic timing control. Obviously throttle on this side. That one still feels quite serviceable. It opens and closes the throttle linkage. Gear selector on the tank, none of this foot change rubbish. And foot clutch. All the old Harley guys know about the foot clutches, of course. And a little added extra. So when your tank's full of oil, you put your finger over the top, you pull some oil out, and then if you have a look down here on the cylinders, see how there's a little cap here with a hole in it? You loosen that off, and you dribble a bit of oil down into the top of the cylinder, down into the top of the cylinder, and that just gives it a little bit of extra lubrication to help it get going when it hasn't been run for a while. Now you got to remember, I mean, this is 1925. Oil back in the day was pretty horrible stuff. You know, it wasn't anything like the advanced oil we got now. So if it sat around for a while, the oil would go gummy, it would gum up the pistons, and you probably couldn't even kick it over. So this one here, this line here, this is the extra oil from the oil pump here, and that squirts a bit more down into the crankcase. And the old carby there. I'm presuming that's the choke lever there. Looks like you got some idle control there. There's another one there, probably maybe idle jet or main jet mixture. And there's even a little hole here, so you can chuck a bit of petrol directly in there. Just give it a little bit of extra fuel to get it going. Yeah, you can just imagine chucking a bit of petrol in there, and there's a bit of petrol everywhere, and then it backfires back out here and boof, it's on fire. I still remember Dad hollering down the hill and coming back up, grabbing a bucket of water and rushing off back down the hill to tip it over the side of the bike. Interesting times, especially when you're a kid. The only work I've done on it so far, I replaced the back tyre because it was absolutely shot and I just wanted to be able to move it around. The front tyre is still, it's not the original, but you know, it's been on there for at least, I don't know, 60 years, something like that. But all in all, it's pretty well complete. You know, there's a few dings in the tank. I don't know if that tank's going to hold any petrol. It feels reasonably solid. Seat needs a bit of work. But ultimately the plan is to get all the mechanics 100% right. So pull the motor, pull the gearbox, get it all completely mechanically restored, and then treat all the rust. Try to keep as much of the patina as I can on there, but make it roadworthy. So let's see what we've got to do to get it going. All right, where to begin? I think I'm going to just pop the plugs out. Just take the plugs out alternately and give it a kick and see which one's got no compression. Hopefully it's not anything too serious. Well, actually I might start by getting rid of this. Oh, that's a start. Let's have a look at these plugs. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a bit of a worry, isn't it? That one's all right. That one's actually kind of greasy around there still. Okay. Compression's completely gone now, so we'll assume that it's the rear cylinder that's got an issue. These are the old spark plugs that come apart in a couple of sections so that you can clean them up. They look like they're the same plug. I wonder if they're like originals or something. Look at the size of those plugs. They are monsters. I wish I had another one I could show you to compare it to. Well, I can see that both the intake valves are working. This is a intake over exhaust. I guess it's a side valve head, but I believe this is slightly more efficient than having both the exhausts at the bottom. Makes for a slightly smaller combustion chamber, but more expensive to manufacture, so they went away from it. What I can see is a stuck exhaust valve, stuck open. I wonder if I can get some lube down in there, squirt a bit of oily Caro or something, maybe loosen it up a bit. Let's get some light here. I'm probably too close. See down in there? That's problem number one. See if we can get a bit of that down to the valve stem. See if we can maybe just push that exhaust valve back down. No. Oh, that's not good. That might be cylinder off. It might not be as easy as I thought it was going to be. That's well stuck. Damn. Okay, the plan is I'm going to chuck a bit of heat onto the guide. See if I can loosen it up a little bit. Oh, that krill oil stinks. Stinky stuff. No, it's not moving. Couldn't be that lucky, eh? It's a pain in the butt. Okay, at this stage I'm getting nowhere with the heating. And I don't want to overheat it too much. Crikey, it's cast iron, you know. If you heat it unevenly, could crack, that'd be disaster. So I'm going to try my luck at trying to get one of these covers out of here. Of course, I have the correct spanner here, the correct Harley Davidson spanner for this job. Oh, that's loose. Okay, sometimes you've got to get lucky, eh? Well, and then again, maybe, oh no, it's got a thread on it. I did squirt a bit of lube around there while I had it apart. Gee, that's not held in by very much. Still a bit toasty-mosty. Now, oh, that just pops out like that. That's too easy. Okay, maybe it was too easy. It's kind of hoping that was going to give me access into the combustion chamber, but maybe not. There's a bit of rust and goobs in there. I don't know, does that come out of there or what, you guys? Is that meant to be loose? Does that cap come out? No, the valve's got to go down, doesn't it? How does that even work? How do you get that out? Because the head doesn't come off. That must be the valve seat and everything must come out with that. Yeah, I don't like my chances of getting that out. At all. Tap, tap, gentle. This is the spare cylinder. It looks like there's another thread in there that holds the valve, possibly the valve seat in there, does it? It's a bit rugged, this one. It does look like there's another inner thread in there. So that must have to screw out. But there's no... And there's a peg there. You can see the configuration, so there's the exhaust valve in there. That just doesn't make sense. Ah, wait, there's a screw there. There's a little screw there. Ah, yeah, there's a pin there. Okay. What's the chance that that's going to unscrew? It's very small, I would imagine. Oh, it's moving. Hobby-dobby. Well, who would have thought that would have unscrewed, eh? Fine thread on that. So now... Okay, so after a bit more tippity-tappeting, see down in there, there's a little peg in there that's holding the valve seat. I've just been giving, my torch is going flat, I've just been slowly tapping that around and it's coming loose now. It's getting there. I'm just going to keep working it. Just gentle, gentle. It's loose. Ah-ha-ha! Success! Okay, so that doesn't screw in there, it just sits in there. I'm seeing some serious, I don't know, it looks like it's probably been leaking there. It's cut away quite badly around there. But that gives me access to the top of the exhaust valve. Now I can maybe just give it a little bit of a tap tap right on top. We'll make sure it's at top dead centre. Actually, can I see the piston down in there? It's all happening now. Oh yeah. Oh, the bore looks actually clean. The piston must have been at the top all those years. Can you see down in there, guys? I'm trying to get you down in there to see the bore. You can possibly see it. I can't hold the torch and kick it over at the same time, sorry. Oh, can I do this somehow? Sort of balance my finger there, put some light down in there, kick it over. Surprisingly clean. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give that exhaust valve a tap right on the top, straight down. Haha, that pushed down, no problem. I've got movement. Not enough yet. It's not going all the way back down. center. Let's give it another little bit of a tippity tap. Okay, there's a better view, guys. So you can just kind of see that screwdriver slot in the top of the valve, which lets me get down there and give it a twist, just to knock any scunge off the bottom of that valve. And I've got some lathe whey oil here. I'll see if I can squirt that in. Try to get a bit actually onto the valve stem. Can you see the valve going? Doesn't move very much. It's not what you would call high lift. You can see the piston in there as well, eh? Alright. Here's the intake valve assembly. Look how soft that intake spring is. I could just do that with my hand. And initially I thought these cracks here, maybe the combustion gas was leaking there, but it actually seats on this surface, which looks fine. So I'm thinking maybe they're there for, I don't know, extraction purposes or something. Some tool that goes in there and pulls it out. That's the pin I was tapping on there. That just locates the top part of the valve rocker. Yeah, so I'll whack her all back together now. After that last comment, sometimes I'm a twit, seriously, I realised what those slots are for in the side. That's where the little locating pin goes. So you know which way it goes together. Oh dear. And the one on the other side must be, they're obviously interchangeable, so that one can go that way or it can go that way. That's what the slots are for. Makes sense now. Right, yeah, the valve assembly's back in with just a little bit of grease on it. Not too much. I suppose I should have a look at the condition of those plugs. Oh, they're clean, I guess. Like I say, minimal amount of work. I'm not going to clean them if I don't have to. Well, let's just see. Aha, yes. Not much, but probably enough. I can definitely feel a little bit of compression there. Let's put the front one back in. All right. First problem fixed.